All right, I give up. I've been sitting here, excuse my French, but fucking with this damn camera and microphone and my desktop for the last half hour. Taka's not happy at all. How's it going, everybody? How are we doing this morning? Happy Thursday to you all. Hope you're all having a better morning than I am at the moment, because I am not having a good morning at all. This is about to wear me out. I am so aggravated right now with everything. My microphone ain't working right. My camera ain't working right. Desktop ain't working right. See, it's all screwed up again. It's all screwed. It's over there. I can't make it go over here. I don't get it. It's fine. Nothing works when I want it to work. So I guess I'm going to have a big black spot on my screen. So I can't do anything about it. I can't do anything about the big black spot. It just, I don't know. It's because I'm playing on a 4K screen and this video is not 4K. And so it's like sticking it off to the side over there on the video. And it's just about to piss me off so badly. Whoops. Hey, y'all get to see me in the background for a second. Hold on. Oh, no, don't do that. Give me just a second, guys. I'm sorry. My God, stop selecting the fucking background. Things that you're supposed to do before you start streaming. There. Good enough. We're going with that. Enjoy the giant black spot, because I don't know what's wrong, and I'm tired of screwing with it, because I can't get it to go away. Anyways, hi, everybody. I'm calm now. Let me have a sip of coffee. That got cold. All right, build more diagonal roads and I will feel better. I really wish I could. I really wish I could. So this stream is only going to be about an hour, which is the maximum amount of time that I am allowed to show gameplay footage in the background, okay? So we're only going to be streaming for about an hour. Again, that's all I can show in the background of gameplay footage is 1 hour's worth of gameplay at a time. So that, just be aware of that. So we've got an hour to discuss things. So before we get started, let me go ahead and just kind of, I know there's going to be lots of questions, and I do want to get to your questions real quick, but give me about 10 minutes, and let's talk about my thoughts on the game so far. Of course, I only got to play for a few hours of several weeks ago now, but in that few hours of gameplay time, I had so much fun with this. I honestly had more fun with 3 hours of Anno 117 than I did the last several years of Anno 1800. Now, part of that is because I have thousands and thousands of hours of Anno 1800 under my belt. You know, I've got a sad amount of time of Anno 1800 under my belt. But at the same time, you know, I really enjoyed this. It was refreshing. It was new. It was interesting. So many new mechanics and everything that came into play. We had a big discussion about this over on the Annoverse Discord, and the way I kind of put it was there's been a lot of worry, I guess is the right word. A lot of worry from the community that Anno 117 is not going to be as comprehensive and feature-rich and content-rich as Anno 1800 is. And to that, I have to say, if you were not here for Anno 1800 at launch, you don't get to have an opinion on that. And I know that's going to rub some people the wrong way, and I'm whatever. If you did not get to play Anno 1800 at launch, I don't think you can sit there and rightly say that you're going to be disappointed in Anno 117 because it's not going to have as much content as Anno 1800 did. Anno 1800 at launch was not... there was a lot to do, but there wasn't much to do. The only real mechanics you had outside of building your cities, resource production, the typical Anno stuff, was train tracks, the train electricity setups, playing around with trade unions and town halls, expeditions, and the World's Fair. That was it. That was the extent of what you did in Anno 1800 at launch. DLC content over the course of 6 years, remember. did add a lot of stuff to do in Anno 1800, but that was over the course of 6 additional years of development time. Anno 1800 was in development for about 3 years, and after 3 years, we got what we got, and it was fun, and it was good, but there wasn't much to do. Anno 117, I already had way more to do and more to think about and consider when building my city and stuff to work on than Anno 1800 at launch. With Anno 117, I was having to consider, religion, which gods I wanted to worship on my island, or which god, rather, I wanted to worship on my island. Attributes, I had to juggle my attributes and make sure I kept those and stuff, within a reasonable area and everything. Workforce was a major challenge. You need workforce for just about everything now. So there's a lot to do in Anno 117. So I really feel like some of the complaints about Anno 117 not being as comprehensive as Anno 1800 at when it launches are unfounded. The tech tree, Positive Attitude just made I do see all of y'all's questions, and I am making a mental note of those. So if you've been asking questions, just hang tight and I will get to them. Let me get through my little spiel. I really did feel like there was a lot more to do with Anno 117 already at the beginning of the game than Anno 1800. Yes, there's not as much to do overall, I think, but that's because Anno 1800 had 6 additional years of development and content added to it. It's unreasonable to think that Anno 117 should have that much content. A lot of the content for Anno 1800 does not translate well to Anno 117. Skyscrapers, airships, all gun turrets, all the wild stuff that we got in Anno 1800 that doesn't fit Anno 117. They have to kind of go back and think in less technological terms. So a lot of those mechanics don't translate well. And of course, go ahead and crucify me for saying this, but they got to save some content for DLCs. It's just how games are these days. DLCs, paid content after release, that's just the nature of gaming these days. And so they are going to save content for DLCs. So yes, there might not be as much content as Anno 1800 did after, a total of 9 years of development. But I have a feeling that we're going to surpass Anno 1800 in terms of total content by the time Anno 117 is done. That's my prediction. So I kind of wanted to address that because I've been seeing a lot of that, it looks so boring compared to Anno 1800, and a lot of that is coming from people who are fairly new to the game and really didn't get to play Anno 1800 at launch when it was very, very different. All right. All right, with that little bit right there out of the way real quick, and we probably will come back to that and address that more later, I do want to answer some of y'all's questions, because that's what I wanted to do today, was answer questions y'all might have about things. So let me scroll back up a little bit here. Do we have a release date? No. The only thing we have is a time frame for release, which is winter 2025. So sometime later this year, October, November, December, somewhere in that time frame. My guess is somewhere around November. Okay, my guess is November of this year, we will see a launch. Always there is a caveat that things can get pushed back. Anno 1800 was scheduled for release. I think it was in 2018. It was like Q4 of 2018 was the original launch date for Anno 1800, and it actually didn't come out until April 2019. They did push it back to add more polish onto it. I will say that if they do delay the release to give them some more time to cook, I'm all for it. I would rather them delay the release of a game and give us a more stable, consistent, stable, consistent, experience, and it be a little more polished than rushing it out to meet a deadline. That's my feeling on it. I would rather them do that. So right now the release date is scheduled for sometime Q4 of this year. There's always the caveat that it could get pushed back. And if it does, it does. And I'm not going to be upset about it, because I would rather this be a really good game and for them to take their time with it. Are stamps ready? No, stamps were not in the version that I played. We've not heard any information about stamps. yet. I assume they will be in the game. However, do remember that they are developing Anno 117 in conjunction with console on PC and console. So they are developing it for both platforms at the same time. Stamps were not available on console because of the way stamps are saved locally. So I imagine that they are redoing the stamp, mechanic to make it functional on console as well, and that's why it was not available yet in the preview version I played and everything. That's my assumption. I don't know. We haven't heard any confirmation from the developer or anything yet about stamps or anything, but I assume they'll be in. They're a very, very popular feature, but they're just not in yet, probably because they're trying to figure out how to make them work with, consoles. All right. Sorry, trying to scroll and everything's scrolling. Trying to look. Will we have expeditions in Anno 117? I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't know the answer to that one right there either. There was no expeditions when I played in this version or anything. Again, that could be something that's coming later on that they might implement. Expeditions were one of those things that it was kind of a fun little side thing, but it was very forgettable. You send off your ship with some items and some food on it, and then every so often you get a pop-up and you pick a choice, and then you just forget about it until it pops back up, and you got a few items from it. I feel like that mechanic could have been done a lot better, a lot more interesting, so I'm not surprised that I'm not seeing it again, because it was very meh. And especially later on, as they introduced more mechanics into the game, such as especially the Research Institute, expeditions just became a forgotten feature, basically. Why do expeditions when you can just rush the Research Institute and get a bunch of items? So I could see them not including expeditions and stuff again right now. Maybe they might be reintroduced later with a more interesting mechanic to it. I always thought it would be kind of a lot more fun for you to actually go to the expedition site. And I think we're done really, really cool now, especially with land units coming back in. Let's say you have an expedition and you need to send off, some troops and stuff with your expedition, and you get into a fight with pirates. Instead of just having a pop-up choice of, fire the cannons or don't fire the cannons. No, instead you're teleported to a Anno 2205 sort of scenario where you actually have to go and physically do the thing, or lead your troops through a jungle or something and fight natives. Romans didn't exactly fight through. You know what I'm getting at. An interactive expedition system instead of menu-based. The menu-based stuff is just kind of boring to me. I don't like it. I like interactive stuff. So expeditions weren't in. I could, I'm not going to be sad if they don't return, because they're very, like I said, they're very forgettable. So I'm not really, I don't really have a strong feeling about those. Will console get the same treatment as PC? Yes, that was confirmed by the developers back at reveal. That console will have the exact same content release as PC. They are getting the exact same stuff. There has been some concern, very, very valid concern about the consoles being developed in conjunction with PC. One of the main issues, issues not the right word. One of the reasons that console only got the base game was that consoles could not handle the amount. Consoles just couldn't handle all the DLC. It could not run the game with all of the DLC included. I see people sit there and they're like, well, games like City Skylines 2 is way more complex and it's on console and PC. That's fine. It was developed for console at the same time as PC. Although City Skylines 2 still doesn't have console almost, a year and a half later, because they just can't get it to work. So that kind of goes to show you that there are limitations on console. You can't just run everything on console. City Skylines 2 isn't on console because it can't run the game. It's too complex. Very similar thing right here at the moment, I think, with Anno 1800. Console just couldn't handle the game. It couldn't handle the game on console with all the DLC. It's too much. There's too much processing going on in the background. Because with Anno 1800, all of your regions are running at the same time in the background, ships being moved everywhere, resources being moved, all those calculations are happening in the background, and consoles couldn't handle it. That's the main reason DLC did not come to console. It was just too much for it. So one of the biggest concerns right now from a lot of veteran players, and a valid concern, is that DLC for Anno 117 may not be as complex as Anno 1800's DLC was, because they are having to develop it for console at the same time. And if console couldn't handle Anno 1800's complex DLCs, what assurances do we have that it can run Anno 1800's DLCs if they are that complex as well? So it's an interesting conundrum right there, and we can speculate all we want and everything, but we just don't really know yet how that's going to work. Let me scroll back around real quick again. Is there anything that stood out to you, negative, positive, neutral, which you haven't seen any other creators talk about? I don't watch other content creators, so I don't know. I can't watch other people play Anno 1800 or any Anno game because I see them doing everything wrong, and it makes me want to scream. I mean, I have nothing but respect for other content creators. I love them all. I've made friends with quite a few content creators, some big content creators too, and everything, far bigger than me. Great people, but I just can't watch them play Anno games because they don't know what they're doing, and it drives me up the wall. So I have zero clue. So if you can give me some examples of stuff that other content creators have talked about, and everything, or maybe something that they've not touched on that you're curious about, maybe I can go from that angle. No, I have not seen any hints of collectibles or anything yet, similar to zoos and museums. I don't know if that will be a thing in this game. Rome was not known for its massive zoos and museums. They just didn't do that. They did have art displays, and they would display statues and stuff like that in public squares. But as far as, going to the local museum to look at, a collection of antiques from another civilization, no, they didn't have anything like that. They didn't have zoos either. They had menageries. They would have menageries where they would keep animals that were used for gladiator games. And some of really wealthy people might have a menagerie with, peacocks and some exotic animals just to show off their wealth. But as far as a zoo, they didn't have anything like that. Rome didn't really collect antiques and antiquities. And I mean, what's antiquity to Rome? I guess Egypt. So yeah, they didn't really do that kind of stuff. So I don't know how they may or may not implement stuff like that again. I can think about it more in a bit, and we can maybe talk about that some. I want to get through some of these questions and stuff still. But yeah, there's no zoo museum mechanic that I've seen so far. Anything you've missed from Anno 1800 that isn't in Anno 117, but that would fit in there, not airships? I can't answer that very clearly yet because we only got to play up to basically the initial unlock for equities. So I don't know what else the game is going to have or not have in comparison to Anno 1800. So far, I mean, everything felt the same but better, if that makes any sense. Things felt the same but more improved from what I've seen so far. There's a few things that, I was a little about. One of the big things that, that kind of got me was they have moved away from the road tile reach system. That's the best way I know how to describe it. The road tile distance and everything. So like from you place down a market in Anno 1800, it has the green range on the road that it will reach. They've moved away from that. We don't have that anymore. Public buildings are all back to a circular radius like they were in previous Anno games. I don't know how I feel about that. I really actually preferred the the tile-based range on the roads as opposed to a circular radius. So I hope they do change that and they go back to that system and they do away with the circular radius for public buildings. It just doesn't feel good. I think it was a step backwards. So if there was something from Anno 1800 that Anno 117 has that I missed from 1800, it would be that. It would be the road tile based radius for public buildings, emergency services, things like that. I'm just not the biggest fan of the circular radius for public buildings. So that's one thing I really missed. I have two questions. Do I understand it correctly that public service buildings, shrine or theater also affect pop that is of lower tier that doesn't have the need for it? And two, have you seen any indication that Tech Tree how stone roads work since buildings have radius instead of Anno 1800 path reach? All right, so question one. Yes and no, how they affect lower tiers. They don't supply the, as far as I know, they're not going to supply the need. They're not going to supply the need for it, I don't think. But the attributes that they supply will still apply. So like the theater that I built in, the end of my preview session, towards the end of my preview session, it supplied the need to my equities for the need for a theater. But it also supplied, I forgot what it was, knowledge, happiness, something else. I forgot what it was. Knowledge, happiness, and belief, maybe? I forgot what it supplied. But those attributes supply to everybody with all buildings within the radius. So it's a dual thing. It supplies the need for that particular tier and above, but it supplies attributes to all buildings around it. So it's a double system on those buildings. If that makes hopefully that makes sense, Jan. And have I seen any indication in the tech tree how stone roads work since buildings have radius instead of Anno 1800 path reach? Stone roads will still work by increasing speed. So, having them in your city will increase the efficiency of your carts and everything, and how fast carts can get around the cities. That's at the moment all I know that they do. I don't know if there's anything beyond stone roads. It may just be dirt roads and stone roads, and that's it. Again, it's kind of speeds up carts. Okay, big, nice. I would like to see some more functionality from roads. I mean, if we go back to a tile-based system, then yes, they can obviously have stone roads do what they did in Anno 1800, and they can extend the reach and everything of it, which would be perfectly fine and really cool, and I would love that. At the moment, stone roads don't really seem like a useful thing to me, just because there's no tile-based radius other than production buildings and warehouses. So it's kind of a okay, sure, fine, whatever. Now there is prestige in the game. There is prestige, which you need. Prestige is attractiveness now. Okay, they've renamed attractiveness to prestige. You need prestige to increase the number of modules that you can have on your villa, and then the villa, you can put more people in there, more specialists. What if like stone roads, or maybe we had like an upgrade to stone roads, like, tile plazas or something, like really nice tile plazas. What if those added to prestige? What about that? That'd be kind of cool. That would give a use for roads and everything. Beautiful roads and everything, make your city more prestigious. I don't know, kind of a fun idea. It would just give something, because roads are just so meh right now. Will console get keyboard and mouse support? Can't answer that question. Yeah, I don't. I know as much as you do on that part, unfortunately. How does land battle work? Land battle is very, very RTS. You train your troops. The troops come out. The troops cost 40. All I could build at the time was the like auxiliary gladiators and slingers. That's all I could build, and they cost 44 workforce per unit. Think about that. It's 44 liberty, which are your farmers. 44 of them per unit. It's a massive workforce cost. There are 44 units in the model too, so it's actually consistent. Costs 44 workforce. There's 44 units in the model, and then you just drag select them and right click something and they go and attack. It's very StarCraft. It's very Age of Empires standard RTS stuff. Train your troops, right click and attack. As far as how to take over an island, though, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't get to try to take over an island, so I don't know how that's going to function. I assume that you take out their villa, maybe, and it conquers the island or something. I don't know. I didn't really get to test that, so I know how it works, but I didn't get to take over an island. Another content creator may have. I don't know. We haven't been given much information on the military stuff, and the military stuff we could do in the preview version was very, very limited. So, and I was too focused on the city to go try to conquer an island. I only had a few hours, and I had a lot I wanted to do in a few hours. So, but I mean, it's basic RTS stuff. There's nothing special with it. It's not the Anno 1404 system with the encampments, which thank God I hated that system. I despised the encampment system from 1404. So this is more of a standard RTS thing. Oh, let's see. I'm trying to get to all of y'all's questions. Is building range mechanic finite? Yeah, we did talk about that. So Bateman, I hope that answered your question. We discussed that. Michelle, I think, was there something on Annoverse yesterday about that? Hold on, let me look real quick. I think there was something about that recently. I feel like there was. Okay, I'm lying to you. Never mind. There's not. Or if there was, I really could have swore I saw something about that. I'm searching Annoverse real quick because I really feel like this. Oh, okay, yeah, no, we were just, everyone was just talking about that. There was, I don't... Yeah, I don't see anything about it. So I don't know if the Governor Edition is going to have a Steam key or not. There may be something about it that I'm missing in chat. There's been a lot of chat about stuff, so I may be missing something. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to come with a Steam key or if it's going to be Ubisoft Connect only. The whole Steam versus Ubisoft thing is something that I don't give a shit about, honestly, guys. You have to launch Ubisoft Connect anyways to play the game, even if you launch it through Steam. The achievements are the same on Steam and Ubisoft Connect. You can add the game as a non-Steam game if you just want the overlay and chat with your friends. I'm not going to get into a Steam versus Ubisoft Connect thing here. You have to have Ubisoft Connect to play Ubisoft games, whether you have it on Steam or not, so it doesn't really matter where you play it at. Everything is the same between the two versions. The cross-platform is there. It doesn't matter. The achievements are the same if you're an achievement hunter. It really doesn't matter at this point. I don't... Whatever. Anyways, next. Not mad about it. It's just one of those things I just don't care about. Which regions do you think they'll add? Good question. Good question. I can... Thinking here. Let's see if I saw something. I don't see anything. Or did I? Wasn't there... Didn't they release some information about the Governor Edition yet? No, never mind. They haven't. No, they haven't. Okay, I don't know. I thought they had released some stuff about the Governor Edition on Annoverse, and that's why everybody was talking about it, but no, there's nothing over there about it. Yeah, I don't know what regions. I mean, everyone's kind of like the big ones that are kind of going around the community right now. Egypt is a big, you know, they've got to have Egypt in there, and I think I could totally see Egypt as a DLC region. Egypt could have some really cool mechanics and stuff. They could bring back the canals from Mbessa, from Land of Lions. Egypt had a lot of canals coming off of the Nile to help irrigate all of their farmland coming from the Nile. So I could totally see Egypt with canals and everything. Really, really cool region to build in and stuff. I think that'd be really fun to build there. Egypt would be cool. Spain, Hispania would be a really cool region, having the Gauls and not the Gauls. The Gauls were European words. I all of a sudden forgot what they called the people from Hispania. Or were they Gauls? No. Iberians. They called them Iberians, I think, or something like that. I forgot what they were called. But yeah, I could totally see Germania, I don't know, name a province. Name a province of Rome. It would be cool to have. Even Greece, even though Greece is still very close to what Rome, Latium would be, because, you know, Rome took a lot of inspiration from the Etruscans, who took all of their inspiration from the Greeks and everything. They were a very Greco-focused culture. So the Romans took a lot of their influence from the Etruscans and the Greeks and everything, the Greeks, when Rome was first being founded, the Greeks had a massive presence in southern Italy. So they took a lot of inspiration from them. So even though Greece would feel a lot like Latium, I think, they could still make it unique and everything. But, I mean, there's, you know, then you go over to, like, you know, like the not the Middle East, but like the Levant, Jerusalem, those areas over there. There's so many possibilities for DLC regions. How do you feel about the stat system? The stat system, I do like this attribute system. It's a lot clearer. I can see a lot more about what's happening. It's more transparent. I understand it more now as to what's going on. And when you mouse over it, it also tells you the likelihood. It doesn't just tell you, no, you have a low chance for fire. It will tell you, hey, you've got, you know, a chance for up to 5 buildings within the next 6 hours to catch fire. So it tells you exactly what you could possibly expect to happen. So it's really, really nice. I like that. Other than collectibles, what do you think will drive late game beyond simply maxing out population? I appreciated that it felt there were multiple things to do once you hit the end. I think it's... Trying to get my screen back here. Again, Tomo, I think you have to compare Anno 1800 at launch to 117 at launch in terms of things to do at endgame. Okay, I think you have to do that. You can't ask, is there stuff to do at endgame in Anno 117? Because there was tons of stuff to do in Anno 1800 in endgame after all the DLCs. At launch, once you built the World's Fair and you supplied steam carriages, you were, I mean, Yeah, you could collect all the little stuff for the museums and zoos. Is that it? That's it. Other than that, it was just tweaking efficiency. You know, getting more items to try to, you know, further boost your production to have more population. It was just a circular, it's just a cyclical thing that just kept going. So yeah, there wasn't a lot to do in Anno 1800 at launch at end game. Once you built the stuff, once you built the monument and you supplied everything, you were pretty much done with the game, unless you just wanted to keep playing to collect stuff. I don't know what that driving force is going to be in Anno 117. Again, we didn't get to end game, so we don't know what sort of end game loop there might be. Just thinking what they could. I don't know. Give me some ideas. What are some of y'all's ideas? What are some end game loops that fit the theme of Anno 117 you guys want to see, or would like to see, or have some ideas on? Let me hear your thoughts. And let's talk about that. Let's get some interaction going here. Oh, let's see. I'm just trying to scroll real quick. I did talk about combat several different times. I've talked about combat already. It is very RTS-like. You know, you build your units, you go right-click something and attack it. That's it. It's not complex. It's not Total War Rome 2 levels of strategy with, you know, having counters and, you know, battle formations and it's train your troops, right click and attack. It's very, very simplified. Okay, this is not a war game. They're putting the land combat back in because people requested it. They wanted to see it again, and it fits the theme of the game, you know, but they're not going to spend a ton of time trying to make it perfect. Okay, trying to catch up finally. Is there any chance we'll get multiple nations to play? Klusik, they could totally do that with the way that they have done, you know, with Latium and Albion, where, you know, they have two different cultures, basically. You have your Roman culture, your true Roman culture. I keep hitting my mic. A true Roman culture in Latium, and then in Albion, you'll have the either your Celts or your Romanized Celts that you can have. So I could totally see them carrying that on to other regions. If they do an Egypt DLC, then you can have, you know, by that point, they weren't really the Egyptians like you would think of, or what we would think of as Egyptians with the pyramids and stuff and the pharaohs. They were heavily, they've been heavily influenced by Greece. I don't know what is the term for being, you know, Greekified. They were Greekified. The Egyptians had been Greekified by that point. So, you know, it's not going to be Egyptians like with pyramids and stuff. It'll be a very Greco-Egyptian kind of feel to it. But I could see them doing something like that. Yeah. Taking over the whole map with combat is something to do in late game. Yep, that is something to do. That's something you can do in Anno 1800 too as well. So it's not really, I don't know. That only, how do I put this? It's that only appeals to a very particular type of player, which is not me. Just tuned into the stream. I don't know this is answer. Do you know if AI lancers are more useful? The diplomacy system is extremely different. It's very different. They don't pop up and just give you quests anymore. You can go. So the way the AI works now is you actually go to their harbor and they have a list of quests. A list of contracts you can take. They have several contracts you can choose from, easy ones up to hard ones. And those different contracts are different things. Go and collect this out of the water. You know, so bring me this. Those kind of things. Fetch quests, delivery quests, basic stuff. But you can choose what you want to do. And the more of those you do, obviously, the more reputation you'll get and everything with them. But you need a lot more reputation to be able to get into like trade agreements and alliances. It is very, very different, and I didn't really spend enough time with it because there was too much going on that I was like, placing down trees obviously was super, super important to learn in the preview version, was how to place trees. Obviously you could tell where my priorities were while I was playing. But the diplomacy seemed a lot more a little more complex. Getting alliances and stuff seems a little more complex. As far as if the AI is actually going to be someone you want to ally with, I want to say that I have hope that they improved the ally system. I don't have faith that they did. I want to hope that they did. I don't have faith that they did. So we'll see, I guess. All right, let's see. I think I'm getting caught up finally. Yeah, Jan has made a really good point and everything. You know, maxing out. There's plenty to do and everything. I don't think you're going to run out of anything to do once you hit. I think we've all come to the conclusion that the final tier is patricians. I think that's right. I think that's the consensus. Is the fourth tier in Latium is patricians. I don't think you're going to run out of stuff to do just because you reach patricians and built the Colosseum. I think there's going to still be plenty for you to work on, just because of how optional so much stuff in the game is. So you can now go and try to fill in all the little things that you didn't do leveling while you leveled up your populations and everything. Do you think the Colosseum will work like the World's Fair, supplying it with goods and getting items for it in return? I don't see items. I don't see items being the thing that you get from it. It doesn't really fit. I can see citywide buffs being something you get. Actually. Getting items from the Colosseum, yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me. Hey, you completed, you did some events in the game. You know, here's a plow. No. I think citywide buffs fit better. I could see that being something. Yeah, that's the only other thing I could really think of off the top of my head that would work as a reward from the Colosseum would be like some sort of buffs that you can do for your city. I think that'd be more interesting. We do know from, you know, our preview and everything that items are being scaled back a lot. They're not going to be as critical to the overall success of your game, and there's not going to be as many. There are thousands of items in Anno 1800. It's ridiculous. They have definitely scaled the items back a lot from what I can tell. So I don't see items being something that is going to be a big push from rewards from the Colosseum. But I could be wrong, maybe. Who knows? Any other information on scenarios? No, I doubt they are trying to do completely different from the base game mechanics scenarios right now. You know, all of their focus is on the game. Scenarios introduce new mechanics, strange mechanics, altered ways of gameplay. That's way different. That's you know, they need the base game down first before they try to alter everything to make scenarios. Hey, Yulan. Telidus. Hey, how's it going? Sorry, I've seen your name pop up a couple times. There's so much happening on screen. I'm missing stuff. So, how's it going, Telidus? Or Teludus? Or, you know, I don't know how to say your name. Citywide buffs seem more interesting. Yeah, I agree, Jan. Definitely. Are specialists in 117? Yeah, when I say items, I'm including specialists because it's an item. Yes, it's a specialist, but it's an item. When I say items, I'm talking about anything that you can slot into a trade union, town hall, ship, whatever. You know, it's all items. Is there going to be a campaign? Yes. Yeah, we do know that there is a campaign. Noteworthy changes to initial world generation or options. Oh, you're not Teludus. Where is Teludus? Where are you at? Oh, there he is. I was like, wait a minute, you changed your name to Yulon? I was confused. I mean, you've always been Teludus. I was confused for a second there, guys. Noteworthy changes to initial world generation options. We don't know that, Yulon. We've not seen world generation options, difficulty settings. We've not. When I got into this, they literally just loaded up this game. It was instantly into a blank island, so I didn't get to see any options on anything. So I don't know. Nobody knows right now how world generation is going to work. That is a developers only know that. We have no clue. Significant customization options. No two cities are the same. You have to expand on that a little bit more, Sam. I'm not sure what you're saying from that. Are production chains more complex or less complex than Anno 1800? Again, this definitely has to go back to compare Anno 1800 at launch. Okay? I think everybody's got to keep that in their minds. They got to compare launch versus launch. Okay? Anno 1800's initial launch production chains were very, very simple. The most complex one was the steam carriages, and I do remember everyone freaking the absolute fuck out over it. Excuse my language. Everyone freaked out over the steam carriages when they saw them for the first time, because it's like, oh my god, that's so much to do. There are some interesting chains that I've seen so far, but we only got to play up through the initial unlock for equities, so we didn't get to see. We only got to the early mid game basically, and early mid game even in Anno 1800 is pretty basic. It's pretty simple. There's not a lot of complex chains. It's the mid to late game where things start getting more complex. We didn't get to see that, so I don't know what might be more complex. The pacing of the production chains actually felt good to me, though. I felt that they started simple. You can see them right here on the screen right now. Tunics, very simple, one-to-one inputs and everything. As you progress up, they start getting more complex. You move into the plebeians and you unlock bread, and then you get, your standard bread chain, 2 wheat farms, a mill, 2 bakeries. Stuff starts getting a little more complex and everything. The olive oil needed I think it was 4 olive farms to 3 olive presses or something. It started getting weird with the weird numbers and everything. So it felt, the pacing of it felt good, but we don't know what late game production chains are going to look like. So, and I do hope that they are at least somewhat complex. If I might be missing questions. There's a lot of stuff popping up on screen right now. The islands look way more interesting. Yes, I love the island designs. They're not just, and I know some people won't like this, but they're not just big flat open plains to build on. There's, cliffs and rivers and height variations. Having all of that to me is cool, and it's a lot more fun to build like that, to build on something that's not just a big flat open map. I'm sure they will add in a Crown Falls style island into the game. It's probably gonna happen. But for right now, I do like how these islands look, and they feel good to me. They feel good to build on. I saw that when you build diagonally, the tiles in some spots have no items that can fill those triangular pieces. Yes, I do hope that they have some stuff. I can't hear. Someone can go try to find this for me and send it to me on Discord. Someone said that City Planner Plays, in his video, he was drawing out diagonal or, freeform flower beds to fill in gaps. I didn't see that option in any of the decorations, so maybe I'm missing something. If someone could find that and send me send it to me on Discord with the timestamp included where he does the decorations, so I can see what he did. I would like to see that. Now that rivers are strategically meaningful, maybe that will affect in world gen options. Possibly, maybe. Did the developer say anything about base game mod support? Yes, mods will be supported. Mod.io will not be available at launch, but the mod loader stuff will be implemented into the game at launch. Okay, so mod support will be there at launch. The database won't be at launch just yet. I think that's coming later. Trying to find where I was at. It keeps scrolling down on me. So something I've noticed that public service buildings are on a radius instead of road access. Do you think it's better? Yeah, Fan Creeper, after this stream is over, rewatch the stream, because I forgot where I talked about it, but I did have we had a long talk about that, Fan Creeper, about the whole radius versus road tile. So we have talked about that. So be sure to go back and rewatch the stream after I'm done. It's earlier on in the stream, so you can't see that where I have a big discussion about it. How confident are you that Albion and the Romanization mechanic will feel good and different from each other? I have a good feeling about it. I think it will be different enough and be interesting enough to have two different population types within the same region like that. I think it will be pretty cool. I'm interested to see how it plays out. We haven't got to see any of it, so I'm really, really interested to see it. What are the aqueducts? Lime. Cramping? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Someone else may know. In my opinion, the production chains... Wait. But it's plebeians. The word is spelled P-L-E-B-I-A-N-S. That's plebeians. I've seen that word all my life. It's plebeians. Plebeians. I think it's both. Whatever. How immersive did you find the game so far compared to 1800 at launch? Very. I was fully immersed in this. Watching the gameplay. I mean, I'm watching the gameplay on my main monitor right there. I keep looking at my my side monitor over here to talk to you, to see questions, but the game is at the gameplay footage is on the main monitor. I just want to play again. That's like I just want to play. Oh, see, end of demo. That was the end of my demo right there. Once you unlocked equities, the demo technically was over, and we couldn't. There was nothing else to unlock, but yeah, I was very immersed in it. It was so much fun. I had such a good time with it. Could you maybe talk about how mines work? I saw some small hints that is different. Yeah, so mines work based on fertility. You do have to have the fertility. Not everything needs the fertility, but some stuff does. Ores have to have fertility. So copper, tin, those things. Those have to have a fertility. Limestone did not. And you just have a blank mine slot, and then you can put whatever type of mine you want on that slot as long as you have the fertility for it, or if it's like lime or whatever for concrete. So yeah, mine slots are basically universal now. You also have to have a mine slot for aqueducts, so that's something to keep in mind. Don't fill up all of your mining slots, because you need those for aqueducts too. So I like that. I do like that system, having universal mining slots. It just gives you more flexibility. It's really cool. What do you think about the new... stop scrolling away. What do I think about the new NPCs? Really good. I didn't interact with the NPCs too much, but from what little interaction I did do with them, I like them. I think they look good. I think the models look fine. The voice acting is really good on them. So I really enjoy the NPCs so far. And they didn't feel like in my face. Like, I completely forgot that there were 3 NPCs on the map. Totally forgot. Did you see any initial paywalls, income walls to overcome, beer, electricity, rum? No. Well, okay. I should maybe re-say that. Kakamoni? Is that how... Oh, is it Kakamoni? Did I say it right? Kakamoni? Oh, did I get it right? You will struggle if you don't take advantage of the attributes from production buildings. You will struggle a bit. Early production buildings that add extra income from being placed within your housing districts helps a lot. Like +1 income for every house within the radius of, I think it was a spinner that makes the hats, maybe, or was it the tunics? One of the two. It adds bonus income. That's huge. I mean, it completely negates the maintenance cost of the entire chain on top of, whatever you might get for supplying it. So it's a double whammy. It's really, really cool. So there are some huge benefits to building, but there wasn't like okay, I've got to get rum up and running because that's going to solve all my income problems. I didn't run into that. It felt the difficulty curve on income felt a little bit smoother that way, if that makes sense. Did they mention how the sessions will work? Is it like yeah, it's just like Anno 1800. You have 2 maps. You have Latium, you have 2 regions. You have Latium, you have Albion, 2 different regions, just like Anno 1800. Is it correct that the Emperor himself is a character we can interact with directly? Yeah, that's him right there. That's him on the screen. You can't really see him. I'm in the way a little bit. But yeah, the Emperor, he's not on the map. He's kind of like the Queen. It's like they took the Queen from Anno 1800, but they made her like an active part of the game. Like he pops up every so often and demands money or resources from you. Yeah. So they did make him a lot more interactive, and I really enjoyed that. I really, really enjoyed the interactivity of the Emperor on the map. Don't remember flower beds, tiles under ornaments can fill his gaps. Yeah, Jan, that is true. It's something I didn't show off in the gameplay, in the video I did or anything, but there are 2 different ground tiles. I think there was at least one. There was a gray ground tile. If you look at that sanctuary, well, I'm scrolling away from it. Oh, behind the villa, you can see that a gray path I made. Those tiles can be placed under just about any other ornament. Yeah, they can be placed under any other ornament, and they can be placed under the aqueduct, which is really cool. So they're like a no clip. They're a no clipping ornament that you can place under anything. So it really, really helps to fill in some gaps. It's really cool. I really like that.
Aren't we forgetting something?
That might be what it is. Gel Vanderplug. I butchered your name. I know. I'm so sorry. Yeah, that's true, Jan. The ground decorations and like the pavements and stuff, yeah, those will work like that. So I probably what's happening with it. Talking about plateaus, did you get to build on any significant elevation changes? No, not on this island that was generated for me to build on. There was no significant elevation changes, but I would love to see some. Would love to see some. How does production scaling feel? It felt a lot better, honestly. One thing I have noticed is that your overall population number, your numbers in 117 are not going to be as massive as Anno 1800. It seems to be all scaled back a lot. You're not going to have 1 million people on one island. It feels a lot smaller scale, and I didn't feel like I was having to spam fisheries. And Anno 1800 is notorious for it. You'd be spamming fisheries and stuff and spamming late game production buildings because you needed dozens of them. I didn't feel like I was having to do that. I think by the time I was done with my preview and everything, I forgot how many people I had. It wasn't a ton. It might have been. How far along am I in this? Where's the end of it here? All right, here. Let me go right here. Let me just pause this and let me move myself out of the way a little bit here. I'm sorry the screen isn't centered, guys. I can't help that. It's OBS being a dick, basically, because I'm on widescreen. You can see right here, this is late game right here. This is the end of my playthrough. I've taken up a significant amount of the island. Can I make you bigger? Yeah. I've taken up a significant amount of the island here. And as you can see, I only have 2,000 people. So your numbers are a lot smaller, and I don't have tons of production spammed everywhere. the consumption rate feels a lot more manageable, where you're not having to spam stuff, which I really, really appreciated that. I really, really liked it. No, there is blueprints are a thing. You can blueprint stuff. I don't have anything blueprinted right here. I know I blueprint something at some point. Let me scroll through real quick. I blueprinted the theater. Did I? I know I blueprinted it. Here, I think I start trying to place it right here. Yeah, there is blueprint. I blueprint the amphitheater right here, or whatever that thing is called. Yeah, the blueprint looks like a sketch almost. I like the graphic for it. So there are blueprints. The blueprint is from that checkbox. Let me scroll back real quick right there. Yeah, the blueprint is from this checkbox right here, which go away. Anyways, yeah, it's a checkbox now for blueprinting. So there you go. All right, trying to catch up again real quick. Just trying to catch up again real quick here. An important part of Roman cities were walls, where they are cosmetic or purposes. Yeah, there are defensive walls. Again, go away with this. I hate Windows Media Player. Get rid of the goddamn bar. Just fine, play, so you'll go away. If you see down there in the bottom, underneath the... I'm having a day, you guys. Yes, there are walls and gates. I'm just going to stop. There are walls, gates, and towers. There you go. Every time I move my mouse over there, the stupid play bar pops up, and it's about to drive me insane. Okay. Is there going to be complex supply chain? Yeah, we don't know. We don't know the answer to that. We won't know anything until we see more of the late game, which we haven't seen anything yet. The Emperor comes to our island. No, I don't. He doesn't. I think that's a cutscene. Oh, there you go. There's the blueprint right there, and you can see it looks like a sketch. I love the way that looks. It's very obvious that it's a blueprint. There is no denying. I have this blueprinted. I need to upgrade that into an actual building. So yeah, there we go. There's your blueprints. Really cool system. But anyways, Nicholas asking about the Emperor. I think that was a cutscene. The Emperor never sailed to my island. He just popped up on the screen. So I think that was a cutscene we were seeing. Something for a trailer. Are there any technology to reduce the number of tiles required for farms? I didn't see anything that reduced the number of tiles. I did see stuff that increased the productivity of farms in the tech tree from aqueducts. That also increased the number of tiles needed. So basically tractors. They essentially took the tractors from the Bright Harvest DLC and they put that functionality into aqueducts. So pretty cool. I thought it was really nice. With all those attributes, I think most of them will still matter in the end game, or we have infinite money like 1800. They talk about better balance. I mean, at some point you're going to hit a threshold where money doesn't matter anymore. That's just any game. I mean, you play long enough and you have a positive balance long enough, you're just going to continuously make money. So I don't think there's any good way for them to balance that. I mean, obviously I'm playing on what I assume is the basic difficulty. So on higher difficulties, I'm sure it's going to be a lot more challenging to make income. But I mean, starting out, yeah, it's going to be on normal difficulty. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be fine. Eventually you'll have millions of denarii. It's just the natural progression of the game. And yeah, King Cooking said it perfect right there. I don't think it's about taking up less space with the farms. I think it's about just like with tractors, which is why I just keep comparing it to that. Yes, tractors on farms in Anno 1800 make them take up more space, but they produced double and a little bit more than the output. Actually, no, it wasn't even double. It was a lot more. It's a shit ton more the output of the farm, of a basic farm. So while you needed a few more farm tiles around it, it's still less space overall than what you would get from, not having them. So, and with the way the consumption rates seem to be a lot lower, I don't think you're going to be spamming farms as often. Will game have stamps and modding? We don't know anything about stamps just yet. We haven't heard anything about that. My assumption, based on what I'm understanding, is that stamps are probably, I'm assuming they're being reworked to work with console. And yes, modding will, mod loader will be incorporated into the game at launch. Mod.io will not be at launch just because it won't be ready. So, but official mod support will be there from day one. Please talk about the ground military units and how it'll work. It's very RTS. It's just yeah, it's just RTS. This is not Total War Rome 2, so don't expect Total War levels of combat. It's you build some troops, you right click, you attack. So hopefully there's people in chat that can repeat that, so I don't have to keep repeating it. Yes. Yeah. Walls and gates have health bars and immaterial. Yeah, it's an actual building that you build. The walls serve a function. They are functional. Oh, there is something right here I wanted to show you guys. Everybody stop and pay attention. Everybody stop and pay attention. Okay? Is everybody paying attention? I did not show this off, but I want to talk about it real quick. See this button right here? It says all goods. And I don't know where it's at in the video, so I'm not going to try to find it. If you click on all goods, you can set for the island, for that particular island, you can set all goods to automatically sell or automatically minimum stock. I know y'all just heard my chair because I just fell back because that was huge for me. One of my big pieces of advice for anybody playing Anno is to set all of your resources except for building materials to sell when over whatever amount you feel comfortable with. I know there are people out there that have ADHD and they want to see their storage completely maxed out with 500 of everything. And I get it. It's an OCD thing. I understand. But in terms of gameplay, that doesn't do balls for you. Having 500 fish sitting in your storage might look nice because the bar is full, but it's not doing anything for you other than just helping your OCD. So my advice to everybody is always to set stuff to sell when over 50, 75, 200, whatever you feel comfortable with. But it was always so tedious because you had to go to each individual thing. Now there's an all goods tab. You can go there. It will set everything current and future goods. So you don't have to go back in and redo it later. It automatically sets up for current and all future goods to be either sold and have minimum stock. It's fantastic. Love it. Love it. Love it. Such a good quality of life feature. There's also that little lock icon. You can also lock stuff out from being that. So like if I didn't want wine to be included in this system, I can lock the wine and it won't conform to the all goods. Yeah, it's really, really cool. Yeah, really great little feature that I just had to talk about real quick. Is the regional trade like 1404? No, yeah, it's separate maps, Maja. They have moved away from having everyone on all regions on the same map. It's multiple regions. Yeah, it's multiple regions still. That's just the new way Anno does things, is having multiple regions. That is what it is now. All right, I'm gonna scroll back up real quick just to see if anybody. Well, what if health and co also become easy to manage with good aqueduct? Oh, I didn't only mean money, but yes, making passage trade better is important. Do you think that the Romans never knew about planting trees, so they arrived at the White Cliffs of Dover? Didn't only mean... I'm missing something. Oh, there is a tech that I saw in the tech tree silo that allows foresters to replant trees. I did see a tech for that. It's a weird thing that it's a technology that you have to unlock for people to plant trees, but whatever. It does add a challenge to the game. It does add a little bit different challenge to the game and everything. Because remember, trees aren't just painted on the map anymore. There are tree fertility areas now. Wherever you see trees on the map, that's a fertility area for trees. And trees only grow in that fertility area by default. So at the beginning of the game, when you're when you're building your city and placing your foresters and your charcoal kilns, you have to be kind of cognizant about where those tree fertility areas are at and make sure you build with those in mind until later when you unlock a technology to allow trees, foresters to be built anywhere and trees to be grown around them. So something you have to keep in mind. I mean, CeeLo, honestly, by end game, once you unlocked everything and you've built everything, everything's always going to be easier. Show me a city builder game or a game like Anno, where by the end of the game and you've unlocked all the technologies, you've done all the things, that it's not easy, that it hasn't become easy. It always gets easier. That's just the name of the game. That's the progression of the game. Does that make sense? Is there a release date? Nope, later this year. That's all we know so far. How do aqueducts work? Aqueducts actually work. Aqueducts are the new trains, okay? They're the new trains. So you kind of have to keep them in mind when you're building your city. Aqueducts are actually really, really simple, though. You build an aqueduct basin on a mining slot, and you need to make sure it's at a higher elevation or at least a similar elevation to where you're going to end the line. You build your aqueduct basin, and then you... what I found was actually easiest to do, and I played around with it a little bit, was to find where you want your cisterns. Cisterns are what actually supply the water, but what they actually supply is fire safety and health to a pretty massive radius around the cistern. Place your cisterns where you want them, and then trace the aqueduct line from the basin to connect up those cisterns. Aqueducts can only go in a single line, basically. You can't you can't have an aqueduct line and then fork one over here, then fork one over there. It can only go in one, but it can snake as much as you want, but it can only go in one line. And there's a limited amount of water that the aqueduct basin supplies. There were technologies that I did see that made it more efficient, supplied more water, things like that. But at the base game, and I'm going to pause it, you can see that I said, of course you don't pause when I tell you to fucking pause. Now I got to play again. Because I hate Windows Media Player. Seriously, I'm going to get a different media player. Because now I can't find what I was looking for. Whatever. Aqueducts have 100 water in them. And then like a cistern takes 10. I don't know what other things might take, but you have a limited amount of water. So you may end up with multiple aqueduct systems. But I did like it. It was like trains, but not nearly as aggravating to deal with. Does that make sense? They're like trains, but not nearly as frustrating to deal with. Well, the thing is, CeeLo, from what I could see, I don't think you'll ever be able to get rid of, health illness outbreaks and fires. Even with 620 happiness up there, I think I still had a chance for, a couple of, maybe 3 riots per hour. Even with 620 happiness. It was no, it might have been more than 3. It might have been 6 or 7. So there's still always a chance. But just the higher it is, the less of a chance for a major outbreak, like a major inferno or something to happen. It just lessens the chance. I mean, unless you have thousands and thousands of fire safety points that might go down to maybe 1 every couple of hours or something, there's still always a chance. So I don't know if you'll ever be able to totally get rid of it. But you just want to keep mitigating it as much as possible. Are there festivals as happiness is high? I didn't see festivals, So I don't know if there are festivals or not. Again, could be something that they just haven't implemented yet in the version that we had. Festivals were also honestly a bit of a contentious point for a lot of people in Anno 1800 because of how they affected production, especially. What was that one? The Harvest Festival. The Harvest Festival in Anno 1800 was actually a bit of a sticking point for a lot of people because it boosted the output of all of your farms and everything like that by, like, what was it, like a couple 100%? And it really just screwed up your entire production values if you didn't know a festival was happening, and that's why it always like, oh, I'm making so much wheat, I don't need to make more wheat, or I'm making plenty of beer, I don't need more beer, because you didn't realize a harvest festival was going on. And then when the festival ended, all of a sudden, oh, you're so screwed up. Everything's wrong. So I won't miss festivals if they don't return the way they were in Anno 1800. How's that sound? Okay. Health and happiness are global? No. It's not. It's still per island. Everything is per island. It's not global. They can, CeeLo. You can do festivals a little bit different way. That's why I said if they implement them the way they had in 1800, I won't miss them. Now, if they can find a better way to do them and to give different bonuses that don't screw with production values, that's different. Festival talk, gaming talk. Let's not talk about the AI, and let's never talk about Empire of the Skies in my presence ever again. How about that? Let's never discuss that DLC in my presence, because I will rage about that DLC. What are my major concerns based on initial impressions of Anno 117? All right, that's actually a good point. You know what? Since I've shown more than an hour of gameplay. Oops, sorry, guys. So I'm going to pause it right there on this. Actually, let's pause it. Let's just pause the video on... let's pause the video on that. Why not? That's pretty. What's happening here? Here we go. Well, let's just pause it on that right there for fun. Actually, do I have a... yeah, let's just pause it on the city overview. There is no Empire of the Skies in Ba Sing Se. It's true. There is no Empire of the Skies in Ba Sing Se. What are you talking about? No idea what you're talking about. God, I love that anime. Terrible movie. Terrible. God, Nickelodeon just ruined that movie so bad. It just... anyways, let's just not talk about that. Makes me sad. Taka's top 3 major concerns for Anno 117 at launch. Let me think of this. Oh, don't I know about the newspaper? No, I don't know about the newspaper. Again, that's a mechanic that it was gimmicky. The newspaper was super gimmicky, and I would be very happy if they did not implement the that thing again. Yeah, that thing was so gimmicky. Anyways, concerns for Anno 117. Let's see. Honestly, I don't know. I haven't sat down and thought about concerns because I haven't had time to think about much. I haven't had time to think about a lot. Let me get back to you on that. Let me think about that over the next couple of weeks while I'm gone out of town. And then when I get back, that's my promise. The first video that I'm going to put out when I get back from being gone for medical treatments is my top 3 concerns for Anno 117. Okay? That's my promise to you guys. That'll be my first video I put out. My top 3 concerns for Anno 117. Give me some time to... I got to stew on that a little bit and really think about it. To have some good concerns that, have some weight to them. So give me some time on that one. Are there other regions coming? Same. Yeah, Albion is coming with launch, so Latium and Albion, two separate regions. More regions, most likely coming later with DLC. We don't know. Okay, I'm gonna I'm gonna step on a couple of toes here. Spiffing Brit, most of what he does, he gets from everybody else. Okay, I'm just gonna say that Spiffing Brit gets most of his exploits he gets from other people. All right. All I'm gonna say is he's not the first person to have discovered that. Yes, he's the first person that made a video about all that stuff. He wasn't the person that found it out. Okay, he just made a video about it. He didn't discover it, and that's my problem with Spiffing Brit. And that's all I'm gonna say. Okay. He most of what he does, most of these things that he shows, he doesn't. He gets it from Reddit or from watching other people play the game, and then he makes a video about it. Makes more money than one video that I make in an entire year, and then goes on. It's a great business model. I'll give it to him. But yeah, he. Anyways, but yes, there are exploits. The ships selling for an absurd amount of money is something that I do hope they fix. But that's not what I would call a major concern. It's mostly a single player game. Who cares if you can sell a ship for 25,000 that only costs you like 400 to build? It's a single player game. Yes, it's unbalanced. Hopefully they fix it, but it's not what I would call a major concern. Okay, that's not exploits and stuff like that are not something that are not what I. If this was a competitive multiplayer game, that's a completely different story. But stuff like that isn't what I can call a major concern. Will there be any politics between the AI and own kingdom and in the kingdom itself? I doubt it. I doubt there's going to be like political background struggle type. Yeah, I doubt it. Well, the thing is, Marzell, with something like that, that's on you as the player to have willpower to just not do it. If stupid microphone, stay away from my hand. The microphone is attacking my hand, guys. I'm not hitting the microphone. The microphone is hitting me, okay? Anyways, that's on you as the player to have the willpower to not use that cheese and exploit. There's cheeses and exploits in just about every video game there is in existence. If the developers don't fix it, then it's on you as the player to be like, you know what? Yes, this exploit exists. I'm not going to take advantage of it because I don't think it's fair. And I'm just going to pretend that exploit doesn't exist. And I'm going to play the game the way it was meant to be played and not use this exploit. So I hope they fix it. I hope they fix, unbalanced stuff like ships costing up, selling for an absolute ton. If they don't, that's on you as the player to decide I'm not going to do that. All right. Yeah, zoo and museum stuff. There wasn't anything like that in the version I played, and I'll quickly say it again. Rome didn't have zoos and museums. Okay, and I don't know what equivalent you could do for that. Off the top of my head, I'd have to sit and think about it. So, no, I do agree, Marzil. I agree, and I did say that I would prefer that the developers fix things like that. If they don't, and they don't get around to fixing those, then it's up to you as the player to have the willpower to say, you know what, I'm not going to take advantage of that exploit. So yeah, we, most people would prefer the games to be balanced and not to have exploits like that. If they don't get fixed, then you're a big boy. You can make your decisions. Hey Fox, how's it going? I imagine they'll fix ship costs. That's an easy fix for them. That's a very easy fix. Romans used so I talked about this a little bit earlier, so I don't want to rehash it too much. But Romans had like menageries that they would have animals on display that they would take to the amphitheater. So it was similar, but it's still not quite the same. And most of those animals went to die, so it's a little morbid. Um, so yeah, I don't know how they might do that. I like the propaganda part where you can educate yourself on how tempting it is for countries to. Yes, you can change God. You can change which God that island is dedicated to at any time, but you do lose all of the points that got built up, and you have to kind of redo it basically. So once you dedicate an island to a particular god, you kind of want to stick with that one, at least for the most of the game, at least in the way that it's currently implemented. Which I think was perfectly fine. I like that idea. Like, you know, I don't like the idea of just swapping gods dedications on islands willy-nilly. I think there should be some, downside to swapping to a new god. Like you lose all of your religion points that you've built up for that god and you need to redo them. So I feel like there needs to be some gameplay element involved with swapping gods and not just, oh, let me swap to this god real quick to get this benefit for a minute and then I'm gonna go back to this one. I don't. I there needs to be some sort of limitation on that. I don't think so, Ricardo, because I mean, 90% of the people that I know that played in the press release version have never played an Anno game in the past. They wouldn't have even known that you could sell ships. So I doubt it. How does the unit selection work? It's like an RTS game. It's Age of Empires. It's like Age of Empires. You train the troops, they come out and a little squad, and you have individual units of made up of a squad of like I think it's like 44 unit models in the unit, and then you just drag select, right click, and go. It's very Age of Empires. The gods are basically the palace local department, kind of, yes. It's an interesting combination of several things. Like Ceres could boost the production of like wine, olive oil. I forgot what all. There's quite a few things. Who knows where I can find it in here? I don't even think I've built the thing yet. Somewhere I have the screen, but there's no telling where it's at exactly. I'm not going to try to find it, but yeah, she boosts the production of multiple production chains, and then as you go through the milestones for how many belief points you have for her, she unlocks additional bonuses up to 110% additional production on those production chains, as well as other bonuses and stuff. So it's an interesting progressive system. I really liked it. Each one gave some interesting bonuses, but I did notice that Sirius was the most powerful of all of them, the most useful and the most powerful. Giacomo, you're welcome. Enjoy it. How long can you play the? I mean, there is no beta version of Anno 8 and 101.17. There was a test. There was a technical test that just ended recently that a lot of people were invited to. I don't know how many, but there were a number of people that got invited to the technical test. I think they have another one coming up maybe in a few months, a couple of months maybe. There's a just Google Anno 117 beta registration, and there's a registration form that you can sign up on. And you never know how long they last. This technical test lasted 2 weeks, I think. So the next one may last another 2 weeks. Don't know. Without military units, this game would have been a massive failure. I honestly agree with that. I don't think you could have a Roman themed city building game without land combat. They just go together. I think you would have had to have had it. Oh, Fox, you're in for. Oh boy. I love you, Fox. Oh boy. Well, I mean, you're gonna have some content creators that just are obsessed with the war stuff, and that's fine. It's there for them. Me, I mean, I'll probably play a game that has some war focus in it, but you guys know me. I'm a beauty builder. That's what I like to do. I just want to build a really pretty city. So that's probably what I'll be focusing on. CeeLo, I wouldn't even be concerned about. There are still to this day, it is 2025. The game Anno 1800 has been out for 6 years now. Anno 1800 has been out for 6 years. There are still people to this day that come onto the Discord server asking if this game is anything like Age of Empires. So, yeah, people still think that this game, or there are people that buy the game and then come on Discord servers and complain because they thought this was an Anno. They thought Anno was like Age of Empires with some city building mixed in, but they thought it was a military focused game. To this day, still, thousands and thousands of videos on YouTube that show what Anno 1800 is about, and still people buy it because Steam has Age of Empires as a similar game to Anno 1800. Take that for what it is. Okay, and some of us won't use it at all. True. There's a toggle to disable. There is a toggle to disable combat. I do wonder if it's toggleable. What do you mean, Maja? A toggle to disable combat? I mean, we've not seen any gameplay options, so I don't know what you're talking about. What video editing software? I'm using DaVinci. How many levels? No, there are 4 levels of inhabitants in Latium. And I think somewhere I saw someone say something that there's 6 in Albion. 3 for each sex. 3 for the Celts and 3 for the Romanized Celts, I think. Don't quote me on that. But there are 4. There's going to be a toggle to disable combat. Okay, that's fine. So there'll be a toggle probably in game setup. If it's in game setup, then no, Maja. Game setup stuff is locked in at game start. So you have to make that choice at game start on game setup, most likely. I don't ever get to watch their streams, so I don't know what gets said in the streams. People usually send me highlights and like important information later, but I didn't hear anything about the toggle. So most likely that's just going to be a game setup option. So you choose it, if choose it or not, and you're stuck with your choice. All right, so what we got here? Most people play Age of Empire games as a city sim, so it's kind of expected, I guess. I've never heard of that before, but sure. They said 6 because the developers spoke about having more options in Albion. It could be 5, 1 base and 2 different. Okay, yeah, that makes sense, CeeLo. Okay, makes sense. Hi, Tucker, do you know farms fields can create perfect right angle triangles? I'm thinking of doing something with octave. Yeah, all that stuff, you can build on any angle you want. Any 45 degree or 90 degree angle you want. So, yeah. Stay away from my hand, microphone. You're ruining my stream here. Ruining my stream here. Okay. Yeah, it's going to be like Pirates. Exactly. Yep. Do you think Anno 117 will be better than 1800? I'm not going to get into that. I am going to choose not to answer that question right now. What is my honest opinion so far in 3 words? Sorry, I'm thinking. What? 3 words here. 3 words. It's all right. 3 words. My honest opinion in 3 words. It's got massive potential. All right. I made 1 word out of massive potential. 4 words. Kill me. It's got massive potential. It does. I really think it does. I think it has massive potential. Do you think the mini radii will improve or frustrate your beauty building? I don't think it. I think I can work around it. Anno 1404 and 2070 had radiuses like that, and I did beauty building in those all the time. So I don't think it's going to be a big deal. It's 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 more. I hate going back to that system. I liked the road based range. I don't like the radius. It's more of a mechanical thing that I don't like. All right, let's see. Where we go? What are we looking at here? Is there any actual advantage to building on an angle? Yeah, there's actually quite a few advantages. Depending on the layout of the island, there might be some like corners and stuff where you can't build a 90 degree, but you can get it in there at an angle. So I think it'll allow you to kind of build a little more interesting off in the corners and stuff of the islands. I think, and it just looks cool. It just looks really cool. Um, Oh, got it somewhere around here. I mean, just look at that. You have your standard 90 degree normal Anno stuff. Then over here, I started a whole angle thing. It just looks better. It just looks nice. It just visually breaks up the monotony of the grid system. I really, really like it. Do houses connect to each other when one house is no, they don't. No, they don't do that. They're still the models and stuff don't adjust to weird angles like that. The 3x3 model for the house is still just the 3x3 model. They won't connect up at weird angles or anything. So yeah, that isn't there. Stamps in 117, not yet. Again, I've talked about this a couple of times. People have asked this several times. I think that they are redoing stamps for. I think they're redoing stamps to be able to be functional with console because right now they are not functional with console, obviously. So I think they're trying to redo stamps to make them work on consoles. What's my opinion on the villa? I like it. I honestly, and Fox is going to set to fly across the pond, find me, and hit me with fish and chips for saying this. I hated trade unions and town halls. I felt like it made the game too meta. Is that the right word? It kind of shoehorned you into always building all of your production around trade unions. Does that make sense? You were just kind of always forced. If you wanted to just get the most, you could obviously not do it, but you were just kind of hamstringing yourself on purpose. Having trade unions and town halls just if it just almost forced you into building everything within circles everywhere. Moving away from that and having the villa that eventually will upgrade to cover the entire island is a lot better. And with the way they've redone production and stuff, and the way they're toning down items to not be so overpowered, I don't think it's going to be as big of a deal. They baked a lot of item functionality, it looks like, into the tech tree, so it's global now. Does that make sense? A lot of stuff that was from items, a lot of the effects from items and different things, I can see them being redone and translated back into the tech tree. It's a lot better. It feels a lot better. And it keeps you from having to build trade unions and town halls everywhere with different setups of items. It gives you a little bit more freedom to do what you want without being restricted to having to go to annolayouts.de, find out what the 3 or 4 best items are, get those items, slot them in, and move on. It opens up more possibilities, I think. Yeah, the villa being even numbered on the main building model. Ooh, my OCD hated that. Oh, my OCD hated that because I couldn't line up a single road. I had to either do a 2 or a 3. Oh, God, that aggravated the shit out of me. What is missing in your Roman fantasy after these 3 tiers? I don't know yet. Until I play the full game, I don't know. I don't know. I have to play the full game to answer that, CeeLo. I really do. I feel like I need to play the full game to give that a fair answer. Because right now everything felt on point. I mean, I've played so many Roman city building games. I think I've played every Roman city builder game that is in existence. And this felt on point so far. So I think they did a good job, and I think they have captured the spirit of it with what I played so far. Totally agree on in unions and halls. It's so tempting not to organize production always. Yeah, exactly. It's just what it is with those things. And it's fine. I know record builders love them, obviously, because of how powerful they can become. But moving away from that and moving away from items being so crucial to efficient layouts and baking all that stuff into global tech trees, I think it's just a little bit better. I don't know if they'll do that, Marzil. Honestly, I don't know if they will or not. We're gonna have to wrap this up here in about 15 minutes. So we got 15 minutes. We're gonna have to wrap this up, okay, guys? That'll be a 2-hour stream. 2-hour stream with no more gameplay in the background. Just an image is all I can show now. Do you think there'll be chariot racing arena like one of the traders? I could see that as a DLC. I could totally see them releasing that hippodrome as a DLC, as part of a DLC. I could so see them doing that. Yeah. They keep showing us in the cities that they've shown us, like in the trailers, is the Colosseum. So I think the Colosseum is going to be the base game monument, and then things like the Hippodrome probably from DLCs. If you were to say one thing that you are the most impressed, excited with in playing Anno 117 that Anno 1800 doesn't have, what would it be? The attribute system, honestly, and I know it's not like a city building part of the game, but having the attributes, I don't know. There's something about the attributes that I just really enjoyed the attribute system. And not just the attributes at the top of the screen up there, not just your health, safety, and stuff, just the attribute system in general on the production buildings, on your theaters, on your public buildings. Being able to think, you know what? This olive press gives me, I think it was health and income or something, or maybe health and happiness. One of the two. You know what? I want to find a place in the city to take advantage of these points. Or, you know what? This bakery takes down, it gives income, but it takes away fire safety. I really don't have enough fire safety right now to justify having a bakery in town. So I'm going to put the bakery outside of town right now until I can justify offsetting that fire safety. I really liked how the attributes added so much game. Hold on one second, guys. Hold on one second. Sorry. Pumpkin is screaming. I'm coming. There. I know. Yell at Dad. I know. Yeah. Sorry, guys. Pumpkin. I had the door shut, and Pumpkin was getting pissed off, wanting to come inside the office. But yeah, the attribute system, I think, was one of the best. Let's cut this conversation off a little bit. I really don't want to get. I don't really want to have a big conversation about the possibility of having. I have to call them interns because of YouTube. YouTube doesn't like the S word. I'll get flagged for saying the S word on YouTube, so I have to call them interns. But yeah, that's a very touchy subject for a lot of people. I can understand why they did not include them in what we've seen so far. They might have a similar system. They might include it later on down the road, but I can totally understand not having it in the game. They've not shied away from talking about interns, because in Anno 1800, remember, there was a whole thing, like George Smith was an intern. Yes, baby, I know. Tell me all about it. George Smith talked about being an intern. Isabel Sarmiento talked about how they were all interns for the La Corona Empire. They don't shy away from talking about it, but having it part of the actual gameplay, they tend to shy away from just to keep it simple. Yes, it is historical for Rome to have interns. Totally get it. it is historical. This is not a purely historical game. This is historically inspired. Anno has always been historically, well, obviously not the futuristic Annos, but the non-futuristic Anno games are historically inspired. That means that they don't have to take every single aspect from history to implement into the game. Okay, that's what I'm going to say about it. That's my stance on it. I haven't seen any triumphal arches. That would actually be a really cool, like, I don't know, like a reward or something. What, baby? Yeah, an arch would be kind of cool. Triumphal arches would be cool. Since houses give less workforce than people. Hey, here's a fun. Well, no, never mind. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to get into it. Not going to get into it. Cat tax. Come here. Hey, cat tax. No, you better come here to Dad. Oh, say hello to the internet. Say hello to the internet. Say hi, internet. Say I'm pissy. Say I'm pissy today. Say I'm just not in a good mood. Say I'm just not in a good mood. There you go. Just get up there. Chill. Thank you. All right. Hello, Heidi. Now Heidi wants to know what's going on. So yeah, there are quite a few. Oh, what was I trying to say? I don't remember what I was trying to say anymore. Okay. Were there milestones for attributes like hitting 1,000 happiness gives X? No, there's no milestones that I saw. It's just the higher the attribute points for that particular, thing across the top right there for like health, happiness, religion, and fire safety and all those. The higher those points, just the more, well, not for religion, fire safety, happiness, health. Those three specifically, the higher the points, the lower incidents occur per hour. There were two incident types. There were regular incidents like, a riot breaking out or not. It wasn't a riot. It was unrest. Ew, pumpkin. There was unrest, small fires, and small disease outbreaks. And then there were major events that could happen like riots, plagues, and like infernos or something. And there were two different stats for each of those within the category. And the higher your attribute for that category, the fewer incidents per hour, basically. But I don't know if you could ever get it down to 0. In terms of enemy AI, are there other civilizations? Yeah, there are. If you look at the mini map right there, you can see I'm the brown, I'm the maroonish color, and there is yellow, green, and blue. So there are other factions on the map that just like Anno 1800, there are other competitors that do stuff. Hold on a second. I gotta mute for a second. How do I mute? Okay, sorry. Cats decided to have a wrestling match in my office. Do we know any potential scenarios? No, I doubt. I don't think they'll do scenarios at launch. All their resources and time are on the base game. Scenarios include all kinds of new mechanics, all kinds of weird stuff that they implement. They still don't even have the base game finished yet. Trying to take the base game and then alter all of that, I don't see them doing that just yet. Probably, I mean, I'm sure they'll release a scenario soon after launch, but let's let them get the base game working first, and playable and all their testing done with it before they start dividing resources off to make weird scenarios. Okay, let's go with that. I can't do that circuit. I'm sorry. Yeah, I can't do that. The most I could do is chop the entire gameplay session up into 3 episodes, which I can do, and I might do. I might just chop the whole gameplay up into 3 episodes. We're only allowed to do 1 hour gameplay footage or 1 hour videos at a time. Any chance to have No. Albion is Albion. Latium is Latium. The entire point of how they are doing this with the needs system is to let you stay in one region. So bringing Albion population over to Latium kind of defeats the purpose of having Latium as a basically self-contained region. You can still bring stuff in from Albion that your people in Latium need, but it doesn't make any. It wouldn't make any sense to have, a Celtic city in Italy. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense to have Celts building a city in Rome. Does that make any sense? It just doesn't make any sense. Did the naval combat seem very underwhelming? Yes, it did. I did play around the naval combat some. Keep kicking stuff, and yeah, it was very simple. You built your ships. They fire arrows. The arrows looked kind of janky, and yeah, it was not as satisfying as Anno 1800's naval combat. That is one of my criticisms. The naval combat did feel pretty meh. It was not fun. It was pretty boring. No, they couldn't ram. You can't ram. All you can do is have archer towers, onagers, or scorpions on your ships. You modify it, and they just sit there and shoot arrows, and the arrows look kind of funny. And they just shot arrows at each other, and the arrow doesn't even actually have to hit the ship. I had a ship sailing away from me. The arrow hit the water, but technically it fired while the ship was in range, so it still took damage, even though the arrow didn't actually hit the ship. It was really janky, and I was not a fan. India, China, Middle East would be cool as a third region. There was a big discussion about that on Annoverse, Sukumar. There's a big discussion on Annoverse about that. That I wasn't totally involved in, but I do know a lot of people were talking about that. And the possibility and why it may or may not make sense. Do you think it should be overhauled in a DLC? Maybe. I don't know. What type of ships do we have? No. So ships completely got changed, Klusik. Ships are completely different. There are only 3 types of ships now: Pentecoster, Trireme, Quadrireme. That's it. You take those 3 ships and then you modify those ships to be what you want. You can turn them into a siege artillery ship with a bunch of onagers on it, or 2 onagers on it. Or you can turn it into an archer ship with archer towers only, or a mix of archer and scorpions. You make them what they want, what you need them to be. And that's it. There was no flamethrowers. Romans didn't have flamethrower ships. No, Romans had fire ships. Romans had fire ships where they would light the ship on fire and crash it into another ship to light that ship on fire. But they didn't have flamethrowers on their ships. I know the Greeks supposedly had Greek fire-equipped ships, but I know that's still not fully confirmed on how any of that even worked. That's still in archaeologist circles. Greek fire flame-throwing ships are still, I think, a point of contention. So yeah. Yeah, ships with archers would be. It was just very boring. Adler. Yeah, it was. And I hate that, but the ship combat did feel really dull. I didn't enjoy it. Yeah. Circuit asked about how moving your troops work. Yeah, you just load the troops up onto the ship. So if you've got, I think A trireme had maybe 6 slots. I think a trireme had 6 slots or something like that, maybe. So you could take 6 units. If you didn't have if you didn't have 3 of those 6 slots or 4 of those 6 slots taken up with, because every ship has at least 1 or 2 slots that are reserved for cargo and item, and you cannot modify those slots because you take up ship slots with like archer towers and stuff. So like a trireme might have 6 slots, but of those 6 slots, you can only use 4 of those for equipment, sails, oars, weapons, things like that. So you would literally have troop transports that have nothing on them but maybe sails or oars, if that, and then you would need to protect them with other combat ships, which makes sense, sort of. Rome didn't really have troop transports. Their quadriremes and stuff doubled as troop transports, but can't do that with Anno 117. So. And yes, I am a huge Rome nerd, so I know Rome didn't really fight naval warfare with archers and scorpions and stuff like that. They didn't sit there and shoot at each other. Romans fought naval warfare with the corvus. I know, I'm aware. They didn't implement that. That's just how it is. Okay. Would I like to see them maybe do that later? It would be kind of cool, yes. Because right now ship combat feels very meh. So, meh. Yeah, I know that the ship combat is not at all how Romans would fight on the water. So, and the whole ship combat was very to me anyway, so. No. I know Greek fire was real. But did the Roman Empire now, the Byzantine Empire did use Greek fire. I think there's contention on if what we call the classical Roman Empire, if they used a lot of Greek fire or not. So. Is the gameplay loop? Yeah. Anno gameplay loop has been the same for 27 years now. The gameplay loop is always the basic of you build your farmers, you give them some stuff, you upgrade them to the next, you give them some stuff. The gameplay loop formula at the core is always the same. It's just everything on top. It's all the toppings that change, sort of. How does land combat feel? I didn't really get to do land combat. I couldn't figure out how to declare war on anybody. But from what I understand and from what I know, it's very RTS. It's very RTS. It's not, don't expect Total War Rome 2 levels of combat here. Okay. Expect Age of Empires 2. And I'm saying Age of Empires 2. All right, guys, that is going to have to be it for me today. I apologize. I've got to get started getting myself ready to leave. I am going to be gone for a couple of weeks and everything. So, and without any internet access or anything, so I won't be around to talk to you guys, answer any questions on Discord or anything like that, unfortunately. So I apologize. It's medical stuff. I can't do anything about it. So I'll be back in a couple of weeks. First video coming out when I come back will be my 3 top concerns for Anno 117, as someone asked me those earlier, and I do want to address that. And because I don't want to be all fanboy about it. I am a fanboy, but I don't want to be a fanboy. I want to also have criticisms, and I do have criticisms and critiques that I want to talk about, but I have to do that in another video. For now, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been a great discussion today about Anno 117 and, expectations and different things that I saw in my playtime. I hope you guys had enjoyed it as well. Thank you so much for coming and joining me here. We had a great time, great discussions, tons of awesome questions. If you have more questions and you do want to discuss more Anno 117, be sure to join my Discord server. The link is down below. I had to see where I was pointing. The link is down below the Discord server if you're not already over there, so we can talk about it more there. Again, as more Anno 117 stuff comes out, dev blogs and all, I will be covering those. And with that, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a great rest of the day. I'll talk to you guys in a couple of weeks when I get back. Have a great rest of your week and everything else, and I look forward to seeing you then. Until then, guys, take care.